Anime has come a long way since its days as a mostly niche medium just a few decades ago, to the point where we're seeing more games based on them than ever. That said, there are still plenty of amazing anime series that don't have their own game, at least not yet. There are also plenty of anime that did get a game once upon a time, but are sorely overdue for another go. So, to that end, these are the top 10 anime that need games, or at the very least, new ones. Parasite, that's Parasite with a Y, not to be confused with the Bong Joon-ho movie, or this charming retro nonlinear platformer on Steam that I found while searching parasites on Steam, which is kind of a weird thing to say. Anyway, Parasite is an amazing anime about an alien invasion of parasitic worms that take control of a host by burrowing into their heads, allowing them to masquerade as a human, while also being able to transform into grotesque monstrosities like something out of The Thing. The concept seems like it would be perfect for a horror action game that covers the events of the anime, complete with a wide array of gross enemies and wild weapons for Shinichi to transform his arm into. Last year, the anime studio behind Vinland Saga actually put out an April Fool's Day video showing a 2D fighting game for Vinland Saga. It was only made for a joke, but it planted the seed for the idea that, well, a 2D fighting game for Vinland Saga would actually be really cool. The art is stunningly beautiful, you can't go wrong with the Norse setting and lore, the character designs lend themselves well to fighting game archetypes, and with games like Guilty Gear Strive on the horizon, this would be the perfect time for an anime like Vinland Saga to toss its sword into the mix. It is mind-boggling that Black Lagoon never got any sort of video game adaptation, because the show itself is basically 29 episodes of nearly non-stop ridiculous action. This is a show where a boat blows up a helicopter by flying off a ramp and dropping a torpedo mid-air, which crashes through the cockpit and crushes a dude's face before exploding.
Yeah! You got
The open-ended nature of its plot as it follows the story of a band of modern pirates aboard the Black Lagoon makes it the perfect setting for an open-world action adventure. Maybe in the ridiculous vein of Saints Row, where we would take on jobs and errands from various shady individuals in the depraved city of Roanoke. Hajime no Ippo has actually had multiple games that were released in the US back in the PlayStation 2 era called Victorious Boxers, and those games are actually kinda great. Oddly enough, they presented some of the most realistic depictions of the sport of boxing found in video games at the time. It's precisely for that reason, and because we really haven't seen a good traditional boxing game since Fight Night Champion way back in 2011, that Hajime no Ippo needs a new game to breathe some life into a dormant genre. Persona is a series in which teenagers must balance their time between ordinary activities like school, work, and dating, as well as donning crazy disguises and fighting monsters in their off hours. This isn't too far from Neon Genesis Evangelion, in which a group of teens must deal with normal challenges of adolescence, but also they work for the government piloting 250-foot-tall robots to fight giant monsters. Also, the teens are emotionally disturbed and the monsters are harbingers of the apocalypse. A video game where you fight monsters with a robot is easy enough to figure out, but how do you also gamify abandonment issues, teenage awkwardness, a penguin who lives in a fridge, and the apocalypse? If anyone can figure it out, it's Atlas. Mob Psycho 100 actually has a video game already, but it's a mobile turn-based RPG. One of the most well-animated anime ever deserves a video game that's equally as impactful as the series. That's why Mob Psycho 100 would be amazing as a 2D fighting game. Just imagine, a Mob Psycho 100 game by Arc System Works. What Arc System Works has done for Dragon Ball FighterZ would fit perfectly with the super psychic powered characters of the series. Haikyuu surprisingly has multiple video games already, from mobile devices to the 3DS, but they play more like turn-based minigames than a full proper volleyball sim. As one of the most popular sports anime right now, and with the Captain Tsubasa football game in the works, Haikyuu can take a similar route with a balance between simulation and arcade gameplay. If a video game can instill a similar level of energy and intensity in the gameplay as there is in the anime, it could be a great game for the fans. Hunter x Hunter is one of the most popular shonen manga of all time, one that had spawned not one, but 2 anime series, and it even has an arc called Greed Island that basically takes place inside of a video game with its own set of well-designed rules and everything. And yet, Hunter x Hunter has never had a game release in North America. It's especially surprising because even beyond Greed Island, Hunter x Hunter just seems perfect for a video game. It could be a fighting game, an action RPG, hell, even a fishing game. Whatever the case, it's sad that to this date, only Japan has ever seen a Hunter x Hunter game, and most of them have been mobile games anyway. A well-dressed former gangster who's left his life of organized crime behind him gets entangled with a web of betrayal, revenge, crime syndicate politics, and old rivalries. In his spare time, he hangs out in smoky bars, pals around with off-color characters like gamblers and hackers, and regularly agrees to seemingly simple jobs that spin comically out of control. Was that a description of Kazuma Kiryu from the Yakuza games, or Spike Spiegel from Cowboy Bebop? RGG Studio has an excellent track record for making action games that balance deadly serious, hard-boiled campaigns with hilarious goofball side stories. Fists of the North Star Lost Paradise shows that the studio isn't opposed to making a game based on a beloved anime. And with the live-action Netflix Cowboy Bebop show in the works, it's not like this classic series is waning in popularity. Demon Slayer is the anime new kid on the block, and if ever there was a moment to strike while the iron is hot, it's right now. Fortunately, it looks like something is already in the works with Dragon Ball Z Kakarot and Naruto Ultimate Ninja Storm developers, CyberConnect 2, taking the helm, matching what is arguably the most beautifully animated shonen anime out there, with a developer like CyberConnect 2, who is the best in the business when it comes to replicating anime spectacle. Beyond whatever CyberConnect 2 is working on though, there's just a lot of potential in Demon Slayer as an action game with multiple characters with wildly different fighting styles. And those are our picks. We'll be honest, this list was actually pretty difficult to make, because most anime that need games already have games. Let us know what anime you think should cross over to video games next. Also, make sure to check out our video of the top 10 anime of all time. And for everything else, keep it here on IGN.